Hello all and welcome. Myself, Stish here, looking a little bit less fresh than I did last week after a little trip to Vegas. And as always, my sparring partner's here, Quinny. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Good to see you at least on your feet, if nothing else. Not strolling in on a stretcher or whatever. So, yeah. How was the trip, mate? Good fun?
It was good. Yeah, it was really good. Had a few sort of a few roll-on, roll-off subs. Tactically substituted myself out. Day 3 for a little rest. I think my body needed it. But 4 nights on a stag do is a big ask of many people. Amazes me that, in my early 20s we were doing that for 2 weeks non-stop. But yeah, in my 40s, 2 nights is enough. After the first 2 nights went in pretty big. I think we had the long day where we had the flight, then got out there but lost like 8 hours back. So we had the full day out there on the first day, and then went out, got in at about 5 in the morning, and then fell asleep for about an hour and a half, and then woke up to go watch the FA Cup final, which wasn't a great watch. But
No.
but yeah, I was so drunk from the previous night. I think I had 1 beer watching it, and the second half of it's a bit of a blur. So yeah, that was the crux of the first couple of days, and we rolled on. And then day 3 was a bit of a write-off for me. I had spent most of the day in the bed, and then back out for day 4, as were. Yeah, it was the group done well. So anyone listening that was on the stag, well played. It was a good game, played by all. But yeah, I'm pleased to be back, a little bit lighter in the pocket. So we need to get some end product in, need to get some of that E threshold, start hitting some of these super rare thresholds to help start paying it back off. But yeah, in the world of end product, Quinny, how did you get on last week?
Not too great, not too bad. I won a wee card, got my wee dose of ETH in from the Super Rare division, which was all good. But I was going to say, you don't, I was expecting you to come back from Vegas and it was, party time and all this happened and that happened. But listening to you now, mate, it sounds like Vegas took a bit of your soul, took a little bit of something out of you.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I feel like, like a couple of days after you get back, it's like, oh God, like realizing how many emails I've missed, even just looking through like WhatsApp where business type stuff's come through WhatsApp. And I'm like, when did I look at that? I didn't realize that was coming through because you're on different time zones and all that. So yeah, I think there's a bit of like the crash back to reality today has been like, oh, work and stuff to do again. And yeah, I think that's maybe what you can hear in my voice is like, damn, I've got a lot to catch up on. And Sorare is definitely a part of that. Started looking back at the squad builders today and seeing, like if there's any glimmer of hope for a little midweek action from my teams, which I'm probably going to be waiting a little bit on the FC Seoul scores to be added to see if I'm going to be in with any shout. But yeah, I've got a player playing now. Chengdu are in action as we speak, and
nice.
Palacios making his first start, which I kind of expected because Romulo went off injured, and I thought, well, Palacios tends to come on late into the games, so with a player like Romulo out, and Kim Min-woo as well is another hold of mine out, so my little Chengdu stack's been chipped away at, sadly. But I'm sure a lot of managers that don't hold Romulo or Kim Min-woo will be very happy to hear that both of those are not in the match day squad this week. So yeah, that little secret stack has been diminished for now. It'll be hard to find any information on Romulo's injury about how serious it is. But if anyone in the chat has any of that info, please do let it be known. Would love a bit of Romulo update. Lunique SR is saying Romulo has done his ACL, if you weren't aware. Well, that's fantastic news. That's exactly what I didn't want to hear. But here we go again. I've definitely held Romulo through an injury before. Not quite as long as an ACL, but yeah, that it might be another season before I get any usage out of him, if that is the case.
I was going to say, you maybe missed it. Haber did a video about how he punted his Romulo on right before the injury happened, and it is a big one. So wow. Maybe you did miss that as well. And
I did, yeah. How much did he get rid of him for? Because
I can't remember. I think it was a trade deal with something across it. But yeah, it was right before the injury, so he got a fair whack for it,
Decent.
So yeah,
Well, yeah,
Romulo no more for now anyway. Big time.
We got some good use out of him for a few games he did play. He definitely brought some rewards in for my team at least. So I paid little to nothing for him as well. So it's not the end of the world for me. I'll just be one of them people who just sits in the gallery for another year, I reckon, and hope that he comes back fighting fit again next season. It probably is the end of his season by the sounds of it. People are saying in the chat, Dime Bar, 8 to 12 months, rumours are. So, yeah, I can put him to bed well and truly until this time next year, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
I agree. 8 to 12 months is the rumour at the moment. So, yeah, difficult one. But Stishy boy, since you've been crashed back, the first thing you spoke to me about wasn't even your trip to Vegas or anything, but it was the announcement we got yesterday from Sorare that it's summer party time. We're getting Gold Cup coverage. We're getting Copa Sudamericana coverage, which didn't sound like anything really new. I don't know. I think we got that anyway.
Yeah.
And obviously under 21 euros. So back to reality with a bit of a party, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Been having a little look at my gallery, trying to figure out if I've got any pieces in play there and checking against the squad lists. And yeah, quite good. I think we were saying off air, weren't we? I'm sure that Sorare did cover the last one as well, but there hadn't been any sort of like public announcements that they were going to do the same this time around. But I think there's a lot of names on those squad lists that a lot of Sorare managers will be familiar with, particularly looking at the French and the Belgian squad lists and the Dutch as well. I think there's a lot of players that are, probably well and truly on the map of Sorare managers kind of watch lists. So I'm quite looking forward to it. I think I'll be watching it with a bit of vinegar on the chips, as I've said, I think on the podcast before. I think it's going to add something, having that Sorare interest. Since the last one, obviously, I don't think I had many pieces in play. The last one, I think I had like Szymanski and a couple of others that spring to mind. But this year had a little look. Quinny, you've definitely got a nice little Spain stack going on. How excited are you to be watching that team go to battle for you?
Oh, yeah, pretty exciting. So when the announcement came out, I went and checked my gallery and I had those two super rares and the goalkeeper that you've seen in the picture. But I've also got Levi Colwell, who's in the England team. And then I discovered through Harry Trades, if you haven't seen Harry Trades YT on Twitter, at Harry Trades YT on Twitter, he's got a thread of all the squads that have been announced and such. And I found in there that I've got a Croatian midfielder that may or may not play, but he's made the squad and he's like 23, so he's definitely one of the more senior figures there. You maybe think that means the older players generally, you expect them to play more generally. But I've got big flashbacks, big deja vu from the last time we had the under 21 euros on Sorare, because I'd only been on the platform maybe about 6 or 7 months, I think, at that point. And I'd got myself, I had Works, I had Nemeka, super rare, the striker I've got at the moment. The Germany team went on to win the tournament, and that Germany team, I was a wee bit snobby on a few of them when the Bundesliga came out, but I really did want to actually go and I wanted to get as many of the stars out of that squad as possible, because I thought, wow, what a team. They were all amazing. They played great, and I thought these guys are surely going to go and kick on. Who was in that squad, Quinny? Let me tell you. Schlotterbeck, Rom, Meyer and Dorsch in midfield that haven't kicked on very well. Ozcan, the boy that's now at Dortmund, was in midfield. Adeyemi up front, along with Nemeka. Works was in the team. And there's maybe a few other guys that I'm missing out. But it was a very well star-studded squad, and they were great to watch. Schlotterbeck was probably the one that I kind of snobbed at when he was still at Freiburg. I thought, he's not a big club. He's maybe not really the big shakes or whatever. How wrong was that? But yeah, so when I had the guts of that Spain team, I thought, do you know what? I like a few of the other guys that are in the squad already, and then what ones make sense, because I don't know if they'll do a special weekly for it, right? They might, but these guys will be under 23 fodder, if nothing else, because under 23 non-Europe is dead. There's no power players, there's no big stacks, there's not that much firepower. So for the 3 game weeks we've got, Stish, I know you're just coming to this today, right? So we've got 3 games in the group stages, and it goes for all the teams midweek, weekend, midweek. That's the group stage. Wow. 3 games over 7 days, right, for everyone. So you're probably expecting that tournament format similar to the World Cup, even the squad players will probably all get a game they start, you know, somewhere, like the good squad players, you know, and then it's into knockout rounds. So there's not that much utility really on the table to go and like, oh, if you've got nothing or if you've got 1 or 2 cards, like, oh, let me go and get something together and make it happen. I was basically missing a striker and ended up going buying a striker and a defender just in case Spain do go very far. Maybe there is a special weekly, and then I don't need to worry about, oh, England get knocked out or Croatia guy doesn't play football or whatever, you know. Sort of vibes. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And I think for Sorare, for end product, for you guys listening to this, this is 12 times bigger than the World Cup, because I'm going to be watching it on the channel. You're going to be watching it in your houses and everywhere else. And I know from watching this before, like not just that Germany team, but every other squad, France were big players. Spain are always big players. There's some European nations that really take this competition seriously. And not just maybe the more senior players that are on radars, like you're talking about, Stish, but all the other players that are DNP cards that make it. And somebody, you know, there will be players that step up and they might not necessarily really crack the leaderboard, but you'll see them play their 10 minutes and you maybe get a wee glimpse of, oh, wow, that guy's actually got a bit of something about what club is he at? Oh, brilliant, he's got a card here. Oh, I could afford that limited. Oh, that super rare is pretty undervalued, etc., etc. And I think Sorare scouts and managers from around the world watching this tournament, even if you've not got a stack, a team, a footprint in it, you'll definitely come out with way more valuable intel than you will like without watching it. Like, it'll be so good to watch for Sorare managers, no two ways about it. It'll be 12 times better than the World Cup for that angle of it. No one was going to the World Cup and wondering, oh, I wonder what America players might break out on the world stage or whatever. You know, this is Wonder Kid tournament, you know, and this is what we're all about, particularly under 23 fanatics out there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I've just had a look. You're talking there about Germany and obviously how good that squad was in the last tournament. And there's definitely a few players in that squad list that have been in my watch lists that I haven't really got a chance to see in like highly competitive games. I think Luca Netz, who is a defender there, is someone that I've not really got round to watching, but has been in my watch list for a couple of years. And Germany have got some interesting options there. You know, Angsar Knauf at Eintracht, he's been linked with, he was at Dortmund as well, and Eric Martel, who I hold, who's at Cologne. Tom Kraus at Schalke, good player. Yusufa Mokoku, who we also know about, obviously at Dortmund, and interesting. There's Angelo Stiller, another one. I think they're going to be an interesting watch. I definitely hold a lot of the French players that I know everyone is aware of, you know, like Cherky.
The whole squad is star-studded, isn't it?
Absolutely massive. You look at their defensive options, they could walk into most fully fledged international sides. And yeah, I think they're going to be, you know, on looking and a quick brief look at the squad lists, France is very impressive, as is Belgium's. A lot of Belgium's players, like with, you know, a lot of experience at the top end of you know, European football. So yeah, excited for France, you know, players like Enzo Lafay, Lukeba, Cherky, Kalimuendo, Kakare, you know, Chevalier in goal, Meslier in goal, Premier League experience. Like, that is a squad and a half. Simakan, the list goes on.
Yeah.
You know, they got so much depth. And, you know, like Germany have a squad there that, you know, you forget that you could put Musiala and Wirtz in that squad and they would still have a few years ahead of a lot of players selected. So there's a lot of talent, you know, in that sort of under 21 category. And like you said, if you play so rare, the whole point, you know, the whole buzz of it is that it will be a scouting. If you think you found the next gem that you can pick up reasonably cheap, a lot of these players in these squad lists are still, I think, quite obtainable price-wise. That I've had a look at a couple today, but I think that once the tournament starts, if someone stands out, you know, those prices on Sorare, not just Sorare, obviously in world football, interest picks up, players will get linked to clubs. So it's going to be really interesting for the transfer market, but yeah, especially interesting if you're a Sorare manager. The Dutch squad is really good as well for, you know, Sorare manager. Yeah. Be quite interesting. I think Gravenberch back in the mix there. He's in the under 21 squad last I checked. I'd need to double check. But yeah, big chance for him to, you know, reprove himself. We haven't seen a lot of him since he moved to Bayern. So I think some big performances from him could see him switch over to another, top 5 league in Europe, with a few good performances under his belt, and you'd expect a player of that caliber to have a good tournament, especially in a team that have to be one of the favourites as well. So I'm super excited for that. I haven't had a chance really to look at the other tournaments that there'd be. The Gold Cup. Quinny, you might be a little bit more well equipped than I am to talk about what we might be looking out for there, who's involved, and what we can expect from that tournament.
Well, the Gold Cup is definitely this is a really interesting dynamic that comes in with. I think we've had it. I don't know if we did get it covered before. I think this is the first time it's been covered. So if you look at the tournament tree, you can see very quickly there's like 3 groups: Canada, Mexico, and America are in a group each, with then the likes of Panama and El Salvador and everyone else, right? The thing with this competition, of course, is it is North American, but MLS waits for no man. So MLS continues to play. The majority of like some of these teams, particularly the North American, they are all North, but like Canadian players, American players, and even like El Salvador internationals, etc., play in MLS. So the Gold Cup is going to be really exciting to get that international utility, particularly if there is a special weekly against that, because I could maybe see that happening, maybe a bit more likely than the Euros, or maybe not. Who knows? It's up for discussion, I suppose. But what you then find happens in MLS is all the backups play, Yeah. So I had it before with American games in general. I don't think it was Gold Cup. It might be World Cup qualifiers or something, but like Sean Johnson would get called into the America squad, and then Barraza would play, getting like a game or two when he was away with the camp. Eloy Room is the national goalkeeper for Curacao. So when he goes away with Curacao, if they've made the group stages, I've not checked, but I think they probably will have, because they've been getting a lot of dual nationals from Holland over the last few years, like Eloy Room. So they've got a decent wee squad. And then the number 2 goalkeeper at Columbus will play all the MLS games while Eloy Room is away, for example. And Alex Roldan is like an El Salvador international. And then there's lots of little quirks across MLS like this, depending on what opportunities that gives up. There's some really good domestic plays that will probably come out of cheaper cards that have maybe been forgotten about, or you maybe need somebody to fix a problem for you, and now you can actually find a guy that costs like a fraction of the price to fill for a few weeks while this goalkeeper's away, or that centre back's away, or whatever.
Yeah, it's a good point. Didn't even really think about that, but would you say that the Gold Cup, will the MLS teams sort of like allow the players to leave to the Gold Cup, or is it more of the?
They need to.
Yeah, you'd expect that they should be allowed to just go. Yeah, that's interesting. That is going to definitely throw up a few of those kind of like you said, the second choice goalkeepers coming in the mix, and
So another thing I want to throw at you, Stish, at this point, sorry to walk on your toes there, but like if you've got MLS teams that don't have Gold Cup internationals and kind of remain at full strength, those plays might become a wee bit extra OP all of a sudden by accident, because you're going to play Columbus, who are playing their second choice goalkeeper. So are Minnesota, because Dane St. Clair's away. So are this team, because their defenders and goalkeepers are away, and there will be some, there's always that 2 sides of the coin with international football, and even with like Champions League midweek football, the extra rotation jeopardy that sometimes you don't want the guys that are going away and playing more football. You just want the guys that are set and repeat. They're going every weekend. They know what they're doing. The guy that's on penalties and whatever. And none of them are that good where they're getting called up to go play for Canada or whatever it might be. So there's so many cuts and the Gold Cup, I think, runs basically along the same calendar as the Euros. I think the Euros starts the 21st of June, whereas the Gold Cup might start maybe like a few days beforehand, or maybe a week before. But the finals of all of those tournaments, they're kind of around the same point in time. So we're going to get a few mad game weeks. And I don't know if these things will actually change the prize pool. The guys on Sorare Data mentioned that yesterday, because none of these things are licensed per se. So there's no real impetus to suggest that the reward pools would be any bigger than what they are like this game week, where there's no European football on. It's only MLS and co.
Good point, that. Yeah. I think it'll be really interesting to see where people start positioning the players as well, like whether they, and what kind of like what tournaments will open as well. I'm assuming obviously we'll have like all of the all-star tournaments will be open as usual. U23, of course. But I wonder if is there any, obviously America will be open because we've got a lot of fixtures there, but you'll know better than me if the amount of it's down to the amount of clubs that have fixtures, right? Not the amount of players that are covered having fixtures. So we aren't going to see like Challenger Europe open up when Belgium are playing because Belgium squad are all Challenger players. But I'm pretty sure unless they change the rules, right, that won't happen. We won't see Challengers.
I wouldn't expect that, but yeah, I think it is on games in that region. And international football is always all-star, and I guess now cap modes and under 23.
In that case, maybe they will open a couple of special weeklies up. That'll be just to try and kind of like distribute the prizes a little bit more, or maybe open up like a slightly larger chunk of prizes. Because if the prize pools are as they are now, but you've got, you know, like U23 for the next few months was going to be pretty thin. But now, you know, in those game weeks, particularly in the group stages, it's going to be a lot of covered players playing. And like you mentioned as well, a lot of players who possibly are number 2 goalkeepers at their parent club or backups but actually at under 21 level will be like the star player. Or, you know, I was thinking of players like this myself, and I don't want to like shoot myself in the foot before I start getting into the market. But you think of players like Somerville at Leeds, who is probably a starter for the Netherlands under 21 and probably one of the better players as well. But, you know, at Leeds, he kind of gets minutes here and there. He's not been the main man. And there'll be lots of options like that available on the market. So I think we'll see the market kick into overdrive the next couple of weeks, especially for those U23 players, for people that maybe want to try and dominate. But are you going to be adding any pieces? Do you think this is an opportunity to add, or are you thinking more of look at what I've got and, you know, does this give me an extra entry for the next few months?
I think with the goalkeepers, like I'll have Tenas, hopefully. Like I reckon he starts. A lot of people are talking to me on my Twitter thread, like, why do you think Tenas? Why are you so sure about it? I just feel that he's been the under 21 keeper. I feel that he's the La Masia guy as well. And it feels like Spain, like from top to bottom, are like very in favour of Barcelona youth prospects playing international football all the time. Like Ansu Fati get capped, Rapid, Pedric. You know, it feels like Barca guys always get good Spain treatment in my experience. So it's one of the main things that goes with it. I think Trubin's expected to show up in the Ukraine squads, you know, Kravitsvili vibes to what you were saying before. And and then with Tani still being a coin toss every week, essentially, in my mind, it maybe gives me another goalkeeper or two, maybe if Trubin and Tenas both play. So it maybe does give me a wee bit more action over those times. And I'm quite excited to like just steamhouse this team into under 23s, because it's a good opportunity for me to maybe be ahead of the pack in terms of, you know, strength of team if I've got these things playing. Like I've not had for a while in under 23s. You know, there's no Mbappe, there's no Haaland, you know, there's no Schlotterbeck, you know, there's no Timber, there's no some real power players, you know. So I'm quite excited for getting a wee bit of under 23 action for it. But I think I'm done adding. Like, I think, you know, I could maybe see myself picking up another striker, but it would really need to. I know who I would get. I'm going to keep that to myself for now. Cards to the chest on this one now.
Yeah.
But it would really need to. Looking at him again now, I would be very interested in doing it, but I don't think it would come cheaply now, unfortunately. And I think the price of admission now is probably he had an auction go recently enough. It's just a wee bit beyond what I think is reasonable for what I would want him for, which is just to smash the group stages, you know.
Yeah,
but
I think I've had a little look. Is like trying to figure out for myself, like, are there any players I can pick up and use, but they're also useful for me for next season? So I'm not just buying them for now. But the few players I was looking at, obviously I've got quite a few PSV options. So I was looking at like Fabio Silva, but he's actually, you know, he's over there on loan. There's no like a guarantee that he'll be there again next season, unless I'm mistaken. But I'd assume he goes back to Wolves and maybe goes out on loan again or stays at Wolves next season. But he had a pretty good end of the season in the Eredivisie, and you know, he's a player that would make sense in my gallery beyond this tournament, but also just open up an option, certain fixtures if teams get knocked out, whatnot. But I think I've got a few Dutch options, a couple of German options, French options. Got Van der Voort as a goalkeeper who hopefully, you know, stays in the tournament long enough that I get to use him. But I don't think I've got any more goalkeepers other than Van der Voort. So yeah, be interesting to see, like, does this go into 23, or do I hit All-Star with like the powerhouses? I do expect France to roll some teams over, and in those weeks, am I better off putting that team in U23 against other people who probably have those cards as well? So yeah, it's going to be the selection part of it. It's going to be interesting. Just a little bit gutted that I don't have a super rare goalkeeper option, because that said, though, I could have on any given game week, because I've still got FC Seoul's U23 goalkeeper as an option. So in the game weeks where Seoul play as well, I could roll a team there with MLS players, as well as now it's just it should just bolster my options a little bit more than I might have seen at this
We'll
stage.
see for that group stage period, Stish. I know for NYC, because they're my other under 23 players that will be playing at the moment. NYC have got 3 fixtures that marry up with that group stage. So I've got like Magno and a few other guys that I can like maybe supplement it with as well over that group stage. But so yeah, I think it making sense beyond your gallery. If you are going to add anyone in, it's definitely something to do. Like I brought in Camelo and Manu Sanchez to fill out that Spain buff. Manu Sanchez is an under 23 defender that, if you look at his SO5 graph, if I tell you he's a guy with potential, you'd probably accept that from me and move on. He's fine, But if you actually watch him, he's quality. Osasuna, he's been a big part of their success over the last 2 seasons. Really good left back. And then the other guy, Camelo, is on loan at Vallecano this year. I actually won him as a limited, and we watched a game earlier this season where he got double decisive. He's a really exciting forward. He was only on loan at Vallecano from Atleti, and he'll probably go on loan somewhere else next season. And he's a wee guy that maybe if he did show up in Challenger or something, like on loan, could be way better than what he was this year, SO5 wise, if you get me. But both those guys have got like raw stats that I can maybe just, I got them in for next to fuck all, But yeah. So, and I like them both, and I knew them both already, and it just helps me then. I don't mind riding the Spain ticket to the final if, that's the bet I'm making, if you like. That's the play I'm rolling out when I take those guys on for the now. But then I know next year, like, hey, the prospects for them are not terrible. They might be useful somewhere.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be good to watch it. And I'm assuming that those games will be pretty easy to watch as well through like the betting sites.
I think it's on Sky.
Is it Sky? They're covering it all as well?
I think so. Don't quote me on that just yet, but I'm planning on doing watch-alongs and stuff, and I'm pretty sure it's got proper coverage.
Nice. Yeah, I'd expect it to be on TV somewhere. I just didn't know what TV had it all lined up. Just having a little look. I think England have a really good shout in this tournament as well.
England have got a great shout, man. Just not enough of their cards available. That Archer is the one you want, I think, for up front.
Yeah.
I don't know about the goalkeeper, if it's Trafford or the other guy.
Trafford is the favourite to start, from what I've read. So yeah, there's a lot of good options there. I think there's a few Liverpool cards, like Harvey Elliott will be a key player, I think, in this tournament.
I was so close, like 2 weeks ago, Stish, to getting on auction the 1 of 10. What's his name? Callum Doyle, Tommy Doyle.
Yeah,
the Man City boy. I seen he's in the squad. That it could be a tournament where somebody like him shows up. A wee Phil Foden Mark II or something. A wee DNP Man City card comes out. Yeah. Morgan Gibbs-White's a big shout out, by the way, because he's somebody that I've followed since that England team that he was a part of with Foden won like the 17s World Cup or the 18s World Cup or something. So he's got like good tournament experience with that England team. Had a good finish to his Premier League campaign, and overall, I think he's way better than maybe most armchair fans would maybe think on the surface. I think Gibbs-White's really good, and he could be a real. If England are going to do something, I could see him being a big part of it.
Yeah, it's amazing just looking now at the sort of predicted 11 for France. Like as it stands, the predicted 11 doesn't actually include Cherki in there. He's not expected to start. But then you got players like Guiri. It's like Guiri has been.
Guiri will play
him for years, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For him to still be eligible at this level is insane, really. But the expected starting centre back pairing of Fofana and Lukeba could walk into most like international starting 11s, like at full international level.
A lot of people think McBrideACE will start as well. He's in the squad. And there's Simican there.
They have so much depth. I mean, yeah, it's absolutely insane. I mean, Adley, who's looked really good at Leverkusen towards the end of the season as well there. Kalimuendo, ex-PSG, Enzo Laffi. All of us know Enzo Laffi now. what a strong lineup they've got there. Yeah, they're going to be fun to watch. I think French, England look good on paper. Spain, of course. Like Michael Elise at France is going to be a really interesting one.
He could be mega at this tournament. He could,
Yeah.
if somebody was thinking about buying him, the performances he could bring to this, they'll go bang. Let's just go. Like, I mean, someday on the continent, just going 40 million, go get him.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing for him as well is because he's got the dual nationality. Because he still hasn't had the full international call up yet. He's still eligible for England as well. If he smashes this tournament, there is going to be like not just a fight at like club level. You can almost imagine the international England versus France.
Musiala all over again, eh?
Yeah, it could be that, but I think that the fact. I mean, I wouldn't want to speculate, but you'd think if he's because he must have had interest from England at this level as well, right? He's obviously picked France now, surely. So yeah, he'll be one to watch. Definitely, like you said, if he has a good tournament, Crystal Palace are going to have to fight hard to keep hold of him for next season, I think. But I mean, they'll probably have to do that with or without this tournament, to be honest, the way he played last season. But yeah, lots of.
You're saying McBrideACE and Fofana are not in the squad. I've seen something saying McBrideACE was definitely in this. Maybe that's a change, or I've seen something wrong.
I'm reading something.
I don't know about Fofana, but
from a little bit further back. So let me have a look at the France squad and see if.
Sorry about that. Good catch, Jonathan. Jonathan's got a huge watch list on Sorare data for the under 21 Euros. It's got over 100 likes. It's getting well followed. So if you search Sorare data for Jonathan Gargi, Sorare Israel, you'll find his watch list, or under 21 Euro watch list. It'll probably come up. And he's got probably all the cards that are probably in that watch list if I know Gargi well enough at this point. So
Fofana and McBrideACE are not in the squad.
I thought I seen McBrideACE. I could have swore I seen McBrideACE in the squad. That's weird. But Sinican's there, isn't he?
The thing I've been reading is from a few weeks back. So it's probably a little bit ahead of the final squad list. But from a quick Google search, it doesn't look like Fofana or McBrideACE are in there. As what I'm looking at, Kalulu, Lukeba, Quentin Merlin, Larouchi, Loic Bade, Mohamed Simakan, Afoot Diakite, and Sasha Boy. So yeah, they're not in there, but maybe
Sasha Boy will be the big breakout star of that defence. If Sasha Boy and there's another one, Destiny Udogie and Soppy, some guy Brandon Soppy. Those three guys were all linked to Celtic to replace Frimpong. We didn't get any of them. And I've just always, I think Soppy's at Atalanta. That Boy's at Galatasaray, isn't he? And then I forget who the other name was and where he's at now. But all of them went on actually, and they've done pretty A-okay. But that Sasha Boy, he's only just got like 3 cards on Sorare. But see, if you look at his scores, he would have been an under 23 defender of death this year if you could have got him. And I think by all accounts, he's leaving Galatasaray this transfer window. And he's quality, by all accounts. I'm yet to see him play. So when you said his name there, that wee bell went off just for me. So I just wanted to let everyone know. Sasha Boy, take note. He could be a big breakout. He's not cheap anyway.
Yeah, just doing a quick search because you mentioned Frimpong there, and I thought
he's not going.
I'm having a look. So there's people are saying that he's not. Well, obviously he's not going, but people are saying that he turned down the opportunity to go. I'm not sure how much truth there is in that, but it's saying that he refused to play a part of in the squad, which is surprising because I think this would be a really good opportunity for him to sort of like stamp his claim for the national side a little bit more than he has done up to this point. But
I think he's probably wanting a break, just like, nah, I could do without that this year.
Maybe that. But yeah, lots to look at. Lots of players to keep an eye on. But fingers crossed. I'll have some decent options there. Definitely got a few super rares playing as well, so quite happy about that. It will definitely bolster my options in D2 for U23 next to my unique Lee Han Bomb and Bake Zhong Bomb defensive pairing. But that's been up and down for me this season. FC Seoul struggling to keep clean sheets. How did you get on in the K-League Special Weekly, Quinny? Did you end up getting involved in that last week?
Nah, wasn't for me. I seen them, but I don't know if you've seen the leaderboard. Pavel won it.
I think he came second in the end.
Oh, did he?
I think he might have finished
Oh,
second.
there's a game right at the end, wasn't there? There was a game.
Yeah, or one, and then once all the scores are updated and stuff like that as well. But I think I'm going to check it now, but I think he finished second. Someone in the chat, as we mentioned on last week's show, we were sure that we'd have some end product in the community in the chat this week. And Talulu in the chat saying they finished 14th in the special weekly. That was so good. Talulu, does that mean you won a shirt? Were you one of the shirt winners then?
I know Mikey Basson finished right up, maybe even won the limited one, I think, Mike ran really high in the limited. See, I think he might have won it, or he got a shirt anyway.
Nice.
I think, yeah, anyone listening, especially live or after we've been live, let us know how you got on in the K-League Special Weekly, because I definitely know there's a lot of you heroes and legends out there rinsing the leaderboard and pulling out some great prizes. I'm sure I heard the data guys as well saying someone won Carlos Heel unique for winning it. I thought it was Pavel, but it must have been whoever else won it. But that was the payout.
Yeah, and I think Pavel finished second. Let's see what he won. Should be able to see. Oh, it's difficult to see what he won because he was so. Where is he? That's last week. Oh, that's nothing. That we've got night mode now on our Sorare data. That's pretty nice. Yeah. But yeah, Pavel finished second in the end. He got pipped by 9 points by Seb Orb, who finished top. But yeah, I managed to finish in the cards.
Nice.
I had not the most useful of cards, but a nice one to win for me. I got an FC Soul player, Palisevich. So that was a nice little win for someone who watches a lot of FC Soul. I was happy with that. I also picked up a super rare win in U23 last weekend. We haven't even got into the end product, Quinny.
No.
So let me just get into what I won last week. So I won a super rare. Where are we? Let me just have a. What's the quickest way to get into my gallery and have a look at my Sorare results? That doesn't show me in my results who I actually won. I'm thinking, what's the easiest way to do this? Just to quickly see my. Is it you look at gallery or?
Yeah, gallery and then. Sorry, I'll go and check the tab again. Sorry, my gallery and then SO5 results.
SO5
or SO5 stats.
Oh, there you go.
Depends on exactly what page you're after.
Here we go. So I won. So I got Sebastian Polter in All-Star Rare, who is a forward for Schalke. So hopefully be quite useful next season. They've gone down, right? So and I got a young player, Juanlu Sanchez. Any scouting notes on him? He plays in the second tier of La Liga for Mirandes, but he's on loan from when I looked. He's a Sevilla youth prospect, 18-year-old midfielder. He's played for Spain at youth level, so might be a good hold. Definitely not one I'm going to sell. I think I'm just going to hold on to him, but could be a decent hold. You know, it goes for his last auction went for 0.285. He does score as well. He's been playing this season, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens to him at the end of the season, moving to Sevilla. But you know, like while he was playing, he hit some pretty nice green patches there. You know, there's a section of his season where he's hit decisives in like 6 of 8 fixtures. So yeah, if he can get a move or stay on again next season, he could be a really good hold for me. So I was really happy with that. I think that was finishing 11th, I think, in U23 Super Rare. Oh, 10th, I eventually finished. So pretty happy with that. Zalabanzi in the chat says, I have his SR as well. He's a quality right wing back with endless stamina. We have to hope he gets a loan move again. And yeah, I would agree with that. That's some extra intel that I didn't have. I hadn't looked at exactly where in the midfield he played. So a right wing back at a good club is fantastic. A right wing back at a bad club gets battered. So fingers crossed he gets like another loan to like La Liga 2 next season. I think that could be a good shout. But yeah, looking to hold on to him. I think I'll hold all 3 of those rewards. Palisevich more for a sentimental value. There might be times of the season where it's a bit more obvious that he slots in, but at the moment he's one of those players that you can't ever really guess who's going to start. I mean, even Osmar started on the bench this week for Seoul, so anyone can end up on the bench in that midfield. And he's definitely found himself on the bench a little bit of late. So, yeah, not a bad little haul. And yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing what happens of most of those next season. But we got a pretty stacked game week up ahead. Have you got into the lineup builder, Quinny? Have you got anything particularly exciting coming up the weekend?
So I think it's more, I'm not really worried about lineups at the moment. I'm just kind of trying to pay attention to who is playing and not playing and stuff. But it is, especially with this under-21s thing that we're talking about at the moment, for me this summer it is all about getting the house in order and doing some trade pieces and stuff like that. So I'm kind of more with the lineups I've got going out every week is just first and foremost find out who's playing, like who will play, get on the starting pitch and whatever, and then go from there. But it's all really, mate, honestly, all my attention and all my focus is on transfer news at the moment. Things that are going on with Celtic, and just with I've got a lot of guys that are like loan bait, in Europe and stuff like that. Guys that are transfer bait, that are ready to move or something. So I've got so many question marks up in the air. And did you see Nicolas's tweet yesterday?
No. What was that?
Oh, right. I'll recite it for you. It was poetry, right? I'm maybe giving it a bit more credit than it's due, but it was definitely a lot of fun, to say the least. Where the heck is it? So Big Nicolas Julia, the founder of this beautiful game that we all love and are madly obsessed with. Oh, I can't even find it. Let me just go and search him. He put out a little tweet yesterday, which I think it was before. I think it might have been after the under-21 thing. And the words of the man: the pipeline of amazing product features coming in the next weeks and months is the best I've seen in Sorare's short history. The step up is going to be insane. No emojis, no gifs, no just like punch, so that makes me very excited. I can't wait to see what's, because the collection bonus was such a left field, I think, amazing thing that they delivered. I don't think there's any pushback on it in any sense, and I think so many aspects of the game are enhanced now through that. And with all the other stuff we know is in the offing anyway, fiat wallet, cash wallet, whatever we're going to call it, that feels like it's around the corner. We know about monthly leaderboards, and there's maybe a few other bits and pieces we've had foreshadowings of in some way, but we don't often, if ever, get a mad tweet like that where it's like, this is going to be insane, like from the man itself. So I'm thinking, when Sorare does get insane, what does my club need to have fun in insane Sorare times? So that's the scales of balance.
Preempt the potential, let's speculate on what things we might see in the coming weeks if they're that good. Like, is there anything that sticks out as like, and these same product updates, right? So that might not necessarily mean gameplay. It might mean website. It might mean, the club shop. It could be anything. What are some of the things that you'd love to see implemented in the next few weeks?
If you can bid and buy on cards through the app, like if it's through like Apple Wallet and all that stuff that they've kind of teased a little bit already. If it is as simple as I'm watching a game and I can just pull my phone out and go, oh fuck, I'll buy that limited for a tenner. Yeah. And it's piece of pea, it's done in 2 seconds. I think that something like that would be mad for like the platform, for the thing, the company, whatever you want to think of it as. And in terms of the game, honestly, the collection bonus threw me through I did not see any of that coming in any format. Like, they could do this, they could do that, or anything. So I really can't even imagine where their head's at and the sort of things that they've been cooking up in the background now at this point. But when he's talking about the game mode, I think we know we're going to get a lot of things tested. Like the final test runs of some stuff is probably going to happen this summer. So we go into the 23-24 season. I think they want to have a complete game, by July, August. I think they want to look at it and be able to go, right, everything is there now. There's no half-finished work, or remember that idea on the drawing board, or to make this work, that makes sense to happen. And all, the Charlie Day meme of, the red lines across the board and all that, all that kind of stuff is kind of ticked off and addressed. So He says there weeks and months at point of recording, we're at the 8th of June. Could very easily see us get to by the end of June, as the under-21s are on, etc. Like, we'll have stuff that's not even been on the radar that will be, like, in the next few weeks, I think will be the centre of all attention.
Yeah. Someone in the chat, Butchers FC, said internal chat discussion between managers. I think that is one we've touted on here. I would love to not have to use Discord to chat about offers. Absolutely. I agree with that one. I'd love to see that. Yeah, I mean, I love the club shop update recently with the, you know, like the special merch drops and stuff like that. I think it's hard to scale that at the level of, you know, like the amount of managers. But I don't know what other things might. I don't know about gameplay modes. I think it might be more like website features, like you said. Maybe we see the Fiat wallet rolled out. Maybe another update of the app that is a lot better and easier, and maybe you can navigate the market, buy cards in the app. I think that's massive, actually. Never even really thought about that, but yeah, if they can make that app a little bit more easy to use for, especially for new users. I think a lot of us sort of like seasoned users will always sort of navigate our way to Sorare data to deal with most of our messing about, and then we'll click go on the website to buy or purchase or make the trades that we need to do. But having that built into an app for new users, because I think a lot of the new users that sign up will come via the app. They won't come via the website. It'll be, you know, your Apple Pays, your wallets, all that kind of thing, straight up. Jonathan said, "Play with Messi in Miami." I mean, that would be a prize I think we'd all like to win.
That would be pretty tidy. I can see it. I seen some of the fine details of the deal earlier today, and it's like Messi has profit share on any Apple TV increase in subscriptions from the point of his signing. So like, he is just rubbing his hands together, man. He is like, Ronaldo got quoted a week ago saying Saudi will be in the top 5 leagues. And I think that this Messi move, you know, they can sign Benzema, Kante, Mahrez, David De Gea. They can go and sign all these players to Saudi, but Messi going to MLS, I think like Saudi's just like, you can't, I don't think you can live golf football, if you get me. Like, I don't think they'll be able to do that, you know, the same way. And if you could, I think you would have to do what MLS has been doing over the last 20 years, you know. So I think Messi going, anyway, I think MLS, Messi, all of that, so wherever they got tie-ins with him, could very easily see Sorare Miami experiences with Messi and co get done very well, because he's very much plugged into this being a commercial endeavor. You know, he's on profit share with Apple TV. You know?
Yeah, it's an insane deal. You know, the Adidas has got something to do with it as well, haven't they? They've got some kind of bonuses in there for him, I guess, on like merch sales, because they make the kit as well, don't they? So any sales of Messi shirts in the club shop, he's going to be taking a huge rake of that, which, you know, in Miami as well, where there's a huge South American contingent in there as well. So yeah, it's a massive move for him. He's already got a house out there as well, hasn't he? So he doesn't even need to worry about settling himself in over there. And I mean, can we even just speculate on the kind of scores we're going to be seeing from Lionel Messi? I know that he's not moving to a particularly great club in terms of the players he's got around him at the moment, but who wouldn't want to play with Messi, right? Who else do they want to sign? They could pick up a few more stars to sit alongside him and really start picking points up. But Messi's SO5 in Miami, what do we think? Up or down from his PSG SO5?
Now, this, a lot of people are going to spit their tea out here. Up. I don't see goalkeepers in MLS saving shots from Messi. Like, I know you can shit on Liga and La Liga all you want, right? But there's maybe 3 bad goalkeepers in both those divisions, generally 4. I look at MLS and I think there's 2 or 3 good goalkeepers in the division. I think anytime Steve Clark, anytime John McCarthy, anytime Tim Melia, see these guys when they play, if Messi shoots on target, they're not going to be able to stop it. Like, you know, not saying he pure bashes the ball, he's going to burst holes in the net, but he's elite, you know, like, and maybe Blake can make a few saves, maybe Willis can make a few saves, maybe Sean Johnson can make a few saves, but it's a very short list. I think anyone he gets a shot on target from 20 yards, he's scoring. There's no two ways about it.
He's going to win a lot more dribbles. I will say that. There's a lot less people going to be tackling him, and I think that referees will defend him as well. They'll be looked after out there. I don't think anyone wants to see Messi off the pitch. The MLS don't want to be responsible for the downfall of this man's career. I think he'll be protected. I think he'll win a lot of dribbles. He'll win a lot of fouls. So yeah, maybe his SO5 does go up. In the chat, very good point made. Where was it? I want to make sure.
Messi v Guzan, because that's kind of the antithesis of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and
that Guzan's not got a chance. Messi will score 5 against him. Shots on target will be goals. Yeah.
It was from Looking for Food. It says, just as important, who out of that Miami team would benefit from Messi? I need to have a little look at who they've been starting. I haven't really been paying too much attention to them because I don't have many of the Miami players this season.
I would say Campagna is the obvious one. Campagna, if you were going to be going after someone, because they've got the 3 DPs they've got are Gregor, Rodolfo Pizarro, and Campagna. Campagna's just in the door from a Premier League club. Gregor is a captain of sorts, so he's maybe, relatively-ish safe, but Pizarro will probably go to facilitate Messi. But then, if they are going to bring in Busquets and Alba, they're going to need... I don't think they'll get rid of Campagna. So I think one of those guys, minimum...
What about Joseph Martinez up top?
Joseph Martinez is on the biggest, non-DP deal you can give somebody, basically, if you know what I mean. So I think somebody like Alba or Busquets, you're going to need to get creative with how you're getting them paid, because maybe they get rid of Gregor, which fair enough. Let's say they get rid of Gregor and they get rid of Pizarro. That allows Messi +1. So Jordi Alba or Busquets, unless they get rid of Campagna, which I don't see because he's their other striker that's quick and young and maybe a bit of an asset. One of them will need to take a Joseph Martinez type deal if both of them go there. But I'm not, for Miami cards, I think you're more looking at trying to get midfielders that will constantly play, if there is, wing positions, centre mids, whatever. I'm thinking about, I can't remember some of the names. I want to say Cam Duke or Bryce Duke or something like that. But there was a wee, guys like that, because the club obviously want to emphasise their academy. So any academy players that are around there are probably going to be, the ones that have been featuring are probably going to be safer from getting punted out the door versus a Joseph or a Gregor or something, But yeah, literally, I don't think Messi's scores can not improve. The only thing, again, the chat makes a great point. He's not going to play 100% of matches. There'll probably be altitudes, surfaces maybe that he doesn't fancy. SR Dimebar Charlie's caught me here. Bryce Duke get traded out last month. Just that type of person, but he does kind of fly in the face of the point of making that he's maybe safer if he's just been traded out. But I do think they will be under even tighter constraints now with their squad agility, and those homegrown academy prospects that are getting brought through are probably going to be even more important. But yeah, man, I think honestly the only way is up for Messi scores. That's just my opinion. Like you say, Jules, he'll win a lot of fouls. If anyone tackles Messi, it'll be a foul. And I can't see, it's just going to be, you're going to need to get really cute with knowing if you've got him, the games he won't play, because it probably will become evident quite quickly if he has got games that he will or will not make.
Yeah, I'm just going to have a little look at his price action since the last couple of days, just to see what the Sorare market thinks of this move. And it spiked up massively in limited. So obviously I think the community agrees, Quinny, that the scores are going to go up from here. And in rare as well, he's seen a nice spike. He's amazing that he dropped as low as he did, but he's up to, there was a sale of 1.3 ETH yesterday, a direct offer. No super rare trades yet. There's obviously not many of them about.
Let me throw this out to you in the chat, Stishy boy. What would you rather have, Inter Miami Messi or a PSG Messi? Collectibles from the card aspect of it. What's more significant?
Personal would have to be PSG, just because I saw him playing that in this season, and I've got the Mbappe as well. So a rare Messi PSG shirt for me on that basis from a collectible. But I guess in terms of when we look back on his career, I feel like there's potential for him to make, I think that if you look at Beckham and you think, he was at AC Milan, PSG, LA Galaxy. And I think that his time at the LA Galaxy, when we look back on Beckham's career, it will be the deal he got there was a groundbreaking deal where he went on to like make ownership of like he really brought a lot of eyes on. There's a statue of him outside the stadium. It's like that is as much as people might be like, oh yeah, but it doesn't matter, it's MLS. No, that was an important part of his story as a player. And I feel like this move could be the same for Messi in that sense that he will become a part of this. It's still a pretty new franchise. Owned by David Beckham. Messi goes there to see out the last couple of years of his career. Let's be honest, he's probably going to go to Saudi in a couple of years and just like clean up over there for a year or two into his 40s maybe. And I was thinking about this the other day because it's the Ronaldo versus Messi always comes up. Oh, Messi didn't go take the Saudi money. He's still a few years younger than Ronaldo. And I could still see Ronaldo doing another move off the back of this Saudi, like get a couple of years in Saudi and then end up in the MLS at 41 or something like that. Ronaldo. Don't know about you, but I don't think this time.
I don't think Saudi's Ronaldo's last stop.
I don't either.
Sporting Lisbon's probably still on the cards somewhere. MLS, yep. I think the whole legal system's maybe part of the thing there still. I don't know if that's went away. Some interesting. So the chat seems pretty divided on the PSG Miami thing. Butchers makes a great point. SO5 utility, a PSG collection is way better than a Miami collection for SO5 purposes, So that's a very, very valid point. And another one here from Looking for Food. He wants to retire at Newell's, right? So we've seen no Barcelona loan materialise. You've just referenced Beckham's loan moves. AC Milan, PSG, they were all loan moves when he was at LA Galaxy. He obviously owns Miami. We've seen Lampard do the Man City loan when NYC signed him. And I wouldn't rule out Messi maybe getting a loan to Newell's. And see this, maybe Saudi Arabia would be the exception, right? But I think with Messi owning a chunk of Miami, I could see him probably being a Miami player for, say, 6 years. Let's just say on paper, 5 years, 4 years, whatever the number is total of his career. But maybe we see him play a season in Newell's on loan from Inter Miami one season. He just does it. He just takes a holiday. He owns the club partially. He can sanction himself alone, I'm sure, to his hometown team. And again, if an opportunity did come up to go to Barca on loan for like 3 months of the year when they're in Champions League quarters or something snaking like that, and they're going to, I could see that kind of thing happening, or whatever else could maybe happen. He owns that team now a bit. Doesn't need to sell himself. He doesn't need to leave. He could always just loan himself around the place if he wanted.
It's such an interesting move. I've always said, I remember having this conversation with my friends in the pub years ago. It was like, you try to pick five clubs for your career. Where do you start? Where do you spend like your sort of peak? And then like a couple of clubs to end your career and your final one. And I was saying, I think I said back then, like Inter Miami is like your final stop. Pitch yourself up a nice little penthouse suite on South Beach, play in the sun, train in a nice part of the world where it's always warm and you've got the beach and there's money. If you've got money, you're amongst like the rich and famous. So I think Messi's probably seen that as well and thought, what a nice place to go retire, and if he's already got a house out there and stuff like that as well. But yeah, that's a really interesting point you make about all the loans and that, and going back to Newell's, definitely very viable with this deal that he's got, and seeing that out, maybe that makes sense. But yeah, if Ronaldo leaves Saudi in 2 seasons or one and a half now, which MLS club could you see Ronaldo pitching up at?
It would only be
LAFC.
No, it would only be LA, FC or Galaxy. But I think it would only be Hollywood for him.
Yeah.
It's Ronaldo, isn't it? Maybe there's a case for East Coast, but I don't think the weather does him. In New York or whatever. On paper, it probably should be like Nashville or something like that, or Cincinnati. But you don't see CR7 rocking up in any of these places, So it's got to be one of the glamour cities, you think. But another thing I was going to say as well, like when people question, will Messi do it or whatever? See that Rooney goal that he scored against DC? Messi could do that every week. Rooney done that once, right? And Rooney was a fat fuck, right? Messi could do that anytime he wants, really, that kind of thing. Take the ball, beat 3 guys, get a shot on target, it's a goal probably, really don't underestimate his age. It will just be how many games he plays, I think. You know, is it 80% of matches? Is it 75? Is it 95?
I think I'm thinking it out loud now, but I was picturing in my head like what the Ronaldo move might look like. You know, we've seen this crazy deal that they've made for Messi, and it's a fantastic deal. And it's like Ronaldo, if he ever were to move to MLS, would be looking at that as a kind of like, that's the baseline figure. What can we get that Messi didn't?
Yeah.
But let's imagine a scenario where Ronaldo starts his own franchise and owns it from like day one, like almost goes in as player owner, plays us a couple of seasons as owner of this new club that like starts its season in, I don't know, Vegas or something. Like you said, it'll be showbiz. It'll be.
I'd be a wee bit tongue in cheek if you started a club in Vegas, but you know, like
Always
because Vegas is where all his troubles are from. You know,
there is a franchise starting in Vegas. I think in next season. Yeah. So yeah, we're out there.
He's allowed in Nevada. That's my point.
Yeah. A new San Diego franchise. People in the chat saying, you know, that's not far from Hollywood, is it? Yeah. Just down the road, a couple of hours drive. Done it myself. You could go and visit a nice zoo there, San Diego Zoo. I'll recommend it if anyone is listening, looking for a zoo to go to in the West Coast somewhere.
Guys in the chat have got all the intel on it. And again, Joe, just to add some flavour into this, like, I'm not saying like, you know, the Messi ownership part of it. It sounds like from what Joe's saying, it only kicks in like post-retirement, which is fair enough, right? But my kind of sentiment with that is they've made him a business partner, you know, like they're not like employing him to play football. They've made him a business partner, and part of his bartering of that deal is that he will play football because that's what he's good at. You know, he's not going to do the books or, you know, come up with new marketing strategies for them. He's just going to play football. So it's like that's part of my point. Is like the ownership part of it is he's now a business partner with that club and with Beckham and whoever else owns the team. So any decision he now makes with his career will be, you know, there will be business partners that will now talk to more business partners than he already has that will now be involved in discussions and whatever. I'm sure he'll be buzzing at the thought of that, but
yeah,
that's kind of my main kind of point with that. I'm not saying he owns the team today and he's going to fire the manager or fuck all, but yeah.
On the subject of transfers and that, this is always a nice time of the season to, you know, like try and get in early on like a bit of transfer discussion, or, you know, try and pick up a player who's about to have that big move or potentially move into the slot of a player who has moved on. And I think that we should definitely have a little chat about Jude Bellingham to Real Madrid. And on the similar note to the Messi chat, sure. Do his SO5 scores improve or not?
That's a tough one, right? A lot of people say no, right? Because the German league forces somebody like Bellingham into more actions, more duels, to be won and lost across the pitch. And, you know, he's forced to, particularly with that Dortmund team that are transition junkies, lose the ball, get the ball, lose the ball, get the ball. That in theory, he will probably have less scoreable actions, even if he does play as much in the same kind of role. But I don't, being a midfielder card in particular, he's not going to concede the goals at Real Madrid that he conceded at Dortmund for a start. And any of the, even though I think volume of action could go down, I think the success percentage could go up, you know. Right. And on Sorare, success percentage is really what you want, you know. If your guy's in 5 duels, but they win 75% of them, then that's fine, versus a guy that's in 40 duels and wins 50% of them, you know, basically. Yeah. I know that probably doesn't really add up because I've went too extreme on it, but
no, I get the point you're making, though. I agree with it. Yeah. Interestingly, I think, like you said, that the lack of the loss of points for goals conceded, definitely. That's another really interesting one. I didn't even really think about that. But do you think he starts every game as well? I think he probably does.
It's hard to see him not start every game, right? But in modern football, no one starts every game anymore, really. I think it's the perceived best 11 is what people kind of strive to be in now, you know, like, and I think for the beginning of the season, I think it might tell us a little bit about how the season will progress for him, because I do think that as the season goes on, Real Madrid didn't win the league this year, obviously didn't win the Champions League or anything else, so there'll be big pressure on them to go and win stuff next year. So how they manage their squad will be a factor in that. So if he doesn't play that much at the beginning, I wouldn't really read too much into that. If anything, I think that's a good thing, that they were probably going to come to rely on him more once the cohesion is there and he beds in a bit better. Whereas if it's the opposite and he plays a lot at the beginning of the season, I would be worried that as the season progresses, he might then fall into the rotation cycle of missing games here and there or whatever, if that makes sense. So I think he's definitely the future, but just this season there is like 6 guys there trying to get free spots. So
Yeah.
I don't think he plays every game, basically.
Has Modric signed a contract extension yet, or are we still waiting to find out what he's doing next season?
I'm not too sure on extensions and such, but I know Kroos and Modric will play next year. Like, if that's the question you're asking, really. But I know they'll play, but I don't know contract situations or anything.
Kroos has extended another year. I heard someone else in here.
I think
Sorare Raul saying he signed. So I think I think Modric is staying. So I guess I mean, if you are Edouard Camavinga or Tchouaméni, what do you make of this for them? What do you think will happen to them next season?
I think Tchouaméni's the one on the shaky nail, right? I think Carlo Ancelotti, I remember when they were I can't remember what Champions League they were on the way to winning, right? But it was when Valverde was breaking through. They just signed Camavinga, so it must have only been 2 seasons ago. They just signed Camavinga, and Ancelotti said in a press conference, the future of Real Madrid's midfield is Federico Valverde, Edouard Camavinga, and Antonio Blanco. Antonio Blanco, probably nobody listening to this knows. He's still a Real Madrid kid. He's been on loan. He's been on loan in the Segunda this year. He's the main, let's just call him Sergio Busquets. He's the main Sergio Busquets for the Spain under 21. So you'll get to see him in this tournament that we're talking about. So I was surprised that they signed Tchouaméni, given that the manager had said that. But then I thought, oh, well, Tchouaméni's clearly better than him then. They maybe don't rate him, whatever. But I think Tchouaméni's made the noises. There's enough speculation around Tchouaméni's future that he might be the one that would maybe go out. If Antonio Blanco is going to start realising some potential, he could maybe fill in, into the second string of the squad now, perhaps. Camavinga gets more minutes now that Casemiro's gone. Maybe Tchouaméni's gone as well. And Camavinga's top playing left back and super sub kind of job, So I think Tchouaméni's probably the shakiest nail there. He's got people that are after him, and maybe I don't know, maybe it just works out that he's the one that goes.
Yeah, I could see that. I think I mean, we got Euros next summer as well. So a lot of these players that feel like they might be on the fringe will probably be quite happy to leave this summer. And I think, like you said, Tchouaméni will probably be falling well and truly into that category, who, he will be kicking on for a starting place in that French team for next summer's tournament. And if he's just going to be a rotation bit part player for another season behind, the likes of Toni Kroos again and Camavinga and Bellingham, and we don't know what happens with Blanco if he has like an insane under 23 tournament. I'd still expect him to go out on loan personally, but
maybe.
But yeah, going to be interesting.
Bench and coming on sub and rotating and stuff, but this year, because they are losing some squad guys this year, like Asensio and Diaz. Obviously, Benzema's not a squad guy, but I could see him maybe getting into the bench and into the background of the team. But alone would make sense, obviously. But the reason I say that is just because, like, when they sign Camavinga, I think Camavinga's totally bought in. I don't think he'll go anywhere. I don't think he'll even be upset playing left back or being on the bench once in a while. I think he is like, I'm a Real Madrid guy. I can't believe I've made it. I'm here now. And he's fully bought in. It feels like the club are fully bought in on him. And I only referenced that comment because it did feel that maybe Tchouaméni was just happenstance. He was doing so well at Monaco. We've just got Camavinga. We would be mad not to get this Tchouaméni guy in case he does work. And maybe he is working. Maybe this is all just speculation I'm reading too much into or whatever. But that, in terms of just the Real Madrid midfield, I think like there's no way that Bellingham doesn't become a first name on the team sheet midfielder for Real Madrid throughout this season. That will happen. Maybe that's the way maybe it starts that way or not. But I think Camavinga's on that trajectory, as is Valverde. Even so, even if you want to think of that as the midfield going forward, forget Blancos and forget any of these other youth guys that might break through. But even in those guys that are there now, because maybe Bellingham replaces that Tchouaméni spot, they've still got Valverde, they've still got Camavinga, and then Blanco's your guy on the bench, because Tchouaméni doesn't want to be the guy on the bench. Kroos and Modric don't mind taking their turn because they know their age. Yeah. And that's the way you go.
Another question from the chat, which is a good one, because we're still in the kind of subject as well. Does Kane now go to Madrid to replace Benzema? Can you see him?
If he doesn't, he's an absolute donkey. Like, honestly. Like, that guy's career has been begging for somebody like Real Madrid to show up at the door and say, we want to buy you. Yeah. No one's really, like, I know he's been trying to leave and there's been all this. No one's really went for him. Nobody's really went. Tottenham here's some money, you know. And he's always been happy to, I want to beat Alan Shearer's goal scoring records. The most important thing in my life, you know. It's all he cares about, you know. I see a quote for him talking about before this speculation became fierce, where he was like, no, I want to stay in the Premier League, like kind of vibes. And he would probably prefer to go to Man United because I need to score more goals than Alan Shearer scored.
I think
that's the main thing going for me now, you know.
Tottenham would definitely rather sell him to Madrid than Man United as well, let's be honest.
Of course, right? Yeah.
They would much rather let him go to a team out of the division that they're trying to compete in. And let's be honest, right? I'm a United fan. If I put my bias aside, him moving to Real Madrid makes way more sense for him.
Yeah.
He'll earn better money. He'll be playing around a team that he will, you know, he'll slot into that team and be as important for it as he is at Tottenham, but in a much
He could win a Ballon d'Or at Real Madrid.
He could. It's doable. You know, he could win a Champions League. He could win a lot in one season there. Whereas at United, you know, it might not click for him. We'd have to do a lot to, you know, catch up and surpass what Man City are doing right now. And Kane's probably only got 3 good years left in his legs. All right, we'll see 31 now, 30. So maybe 3 top years. He could win it all at Real Madrid. At Man United in the next 3 years, he might win a FA Cup, might get to a Champions League final if we're lucky. But I'm not sure if we're winning the Premier League in the next 3 years.
Well, I think with Kane, you've got a much better chance of that, certainly, you know. And
you
were thinking that, you know, if I can show up at Man United with 30, he scored 32 goals this year for Tottenham, who finished like 10th or something mad, you know. So, like, and Haaland scored 36. You know, he was only like 4 goals behind Haaland, you know, which is incredible. So
it'll be a good move for him, and I think he'd do really well there as well. Like, he would literally slot straight into that Benzema role. He's a very similar style of player. Yeah. You know, he's good when he drops into that kind of midfield role. He plays like a proper number 10, you know. He's not like a target man, but he can be. He's quite similar to Benzema in that, like, he can drop deep. His setup plays good. He'll link up well on, you know, like with Rodrigo and Vinny, like overlapping on the wings. Kane drops in to feed. It makes perfect sense for the Ancelotti philosophy, having a Kane in that team. So we'll see. Yeah, I think if Kane goes to Real Madrid, a lot of questions will be asked of who United sign. Zalabanzi's in the chat saying we might have to make do with Højlund, which, you know, it might be a Højlund, might be a Kolo Muani, it might be. I'm trying to think of some other good options that are actually out there that are realistic for United if Kane doesn't sign. And, you know, you could have argued a few months ago that maybe Ivan Toney was there, but he's definitely not going anywhere anytime soon now. Yeah, it will put United in a very difficult spot, but very hard to see Harry Kane taking the option to join United if Real Madrid is a valid offer on the table.
I see Kane staying at Tottenham for another year, playing under Postecoglou, getting a free transfer to Man United and scoring more goals than Alan Shearer. That's what I need to do. Score more goals than Alan Shearer. Then he'll maybe think about moving abroad once he's scored 271 goals or something, whatever the record is. Or
yeah, it's about that, isn't it? I think 260 or something like that. Yeah,
that's what it's like. It's just like, mate, your career at this point, like, you've got a golden chance. You can always come back to the Premier League when you're 35. People will still let you play for Burnley and take all the penalties. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
You've got a set of legs, like, it'll be fine. You know, you'll always be able to come back and score goals. Like, go to Madrid, go get some sun about you, go grow a set of balls, go score some goals, get some medals, and then score more goals than Alan Shearer
in a few years.
Yeah, that's it.
I think, Quinny, we should try and figure out a little segment on the show for you where we get like.
I'm just thinking I've done this impression far too much. I'm too comfy, Stish, just because it's the sort of chat I normally just have when I'm chatting with folk on calls and stuff. We'll see how much of that stays in the edit. If you've watched this live, hopefully you've had fun with that. It won't all stay in the edit.
He's lucky I'm not on the edit. Yeah, it might be. That would definitely have all stayed in, and we'll like get a little spitting image, like Snapchat filter on you or something like that while you're doing it, like little Harry Kane face. Well, mate, we've had wow, what's that? An hour and 15 now. So we've hit the nail fantastically on the head there. We've covered a lot of ground. Super exciting times for a lot of Sorare managers with the under-21 tournament coming up soon. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we close out for this week's episode?
I didn't have anything. No, I'm just thinking. I'm just mad excited about Stish, and I just think that I was kind of getting ready for a wee summer of like personally, like, oh, I'll just do some nice, easy content. We'll do some transfer window stuff, and we'll do some this, we'll do some that. We'll wait for the new season. But like now, there's so much going on every day. I'm coming in here, and it's like Messi to Miami, under 21 Euros is on Sorare, and then Nick's tweeting about all this stuff that's going to come out. Like honestly, I just think that this is going to be quickest, longest summer ever, if you know what I mean. There's going to be so much stuff happening. It's going to go by in the blink of an eye, but it's going to feel like forever at the same time. It's going to be one of those periods, mate. So yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where we started the podcast, so how am I going to know where to end it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's so much going on at the minute, but it is great as always to have a chat with you, mate. And I think anyone in the chat, anything that we didn't get onto that you want to know, be sure to add a little comment on the YouTube. Quinny will be uploading it probably tomorrow, I guess, right? Maybe tonight, depending on when that edit gets done. And make sure you leave a comment, and make sure you follow us on Twitter at mproductpod. We are on Instagram as well. We're not that lively on Instagram, but mproductpod on Instagram. We don't shout that one out very often. And yeah, you can follow the podcast live on Twitch if you're listening on a podcast or something like that. We do broadcast this normally around 1 o'clock on a Thursday UK time, and you can find that at /Plastician on Twitch. Gang, it's been an absolute pleasure. Quinny, never a chore, as always. Good luck on the game week for the weekend, and to everyone listening, good luck to you too, and we'll see you all this time next week. Big up, everyone.